just 6 days, the map of the Middle East was forever changed. A short war, but one that shook the entire world. From skies filled with roaring jet fighters to the holy city of Jerusalem caught in fierce battles, the Six-Day War was a dramatic moment in history. This is the story of the war that reshaped the destiny of Palestine and cemented Israel's power. This is the story of the Six-Day War, a tragedy whose wounds are still open today. After the Suez Crisis of 1956, when Israel was forced to withdraw from the Egyptian-controlled Sinai Peninsula, tensions continued to rise between Israel and the surrounding Arab states. Egypt's charismatic leader, Gamal Abdel Nasser, openly vowed to destroy Israel. He exploited every opportunity to needle the Jewish state, using his control of the Straits of Tiran to harass Israeli shipping. The situation came to a head in May 1967 when Nasser closed the straits completely, effectively blockading Israel and cutting off its vital trade routes. In response, Israel formed a defensive alliance with its Arab neighbors, Jordan, Syria, and Iraq, who pledged to wipe Israel off the map. With the blockade of the straits and Nasser's belligerent stance, it seemed war was on the horizon. But there was one problem. Israel was massively outnumbered. 5 Arab nations were united against it, possessing a combined military force of around 300,000 troops, while Israel only had 200,000 ready soldiers. To make matters worse, the Egyptians alone had 400 combat aircraft compared to Israel's 120. And so, with the odds stacked against them, the Israelis knew that if they were going to prevail, they had to strike first. And so, on June 5, 1967, at the crack of dawn, Israeli fighter jets took to the skies. Codenamed Operation Focus, the preemptive airstrike caught the Egyptians completely off guard, flying back and forth between the Suez and Damascus. The Israeli Air Force targeted every Egyptian airbase and destroyed nearly the entire Egyptian Air Force before the sun rose. Having eliminated the biggest threat, the Israelis then turned their attention to Syria and Jordan, taking out their air forces too. Within hours, the entire balance of power in the region was turned upside down. Arab air superiority was gone in a single morning. With air cover now secure, Israeli ground forces began to push forward. The Egyptians were thrown into disarray, unable to mount any significant resistance. Within a few days, Israeli troops advanced deep into the Sinai Peninsula, pushing the Egyptians back and seizing key strategic positions along the way. By June 9th, the Israelis were just 60 miles from the Suez Canal, effectively splitting the Sinai in two. Meanwhile, the fighting soon spread to Jerusalem. Jordan, which had joined the war on the Arab side, bombarded West Jerusalem with heavy artillery fire, killing hundreds of Israeli civilians. On June 6th, Israel launched a fierce ground assault across the West Bank, aiming to break through Jordan's lines and lift the siege. Heavy fighting ensued, particularly in East Jerusalem, where the Israelis pushed eastward toward the Old City. The streets turned into a scene of intense urban warfare, house to house, room to room. But gradually, despite fierce resistance, the Israelis made headway. By June 7th, they had captured the Old City, including the Western Wall, Judaism's holiest site. It was an astonishing achievement, yet it came at a tremendous cost. Hundreds of lives were lost on both sides, as Jerusalem was engulfed in the flames of war. The city was divided once again after 2,000 years, but this time under Israeli and Jordanian control. Thousands of Palestinians fled or were expelled from their homes during the conflict, becoming refugees in neighboring Arab nations. In the aftermath of the war, Israel found itself in full control of East Jerusalem, a territory it had never before held. This victory was deeply significant for the Jews worldwide. The ancient and spiritual connection to the city was re-established. However, for the Palestinians living there, it marked the beginning of a painful and ongoing occupation. Further north, the war also focused on the Golan Heights. The Syrian shelling of Israeli villages from these elevated positions was proving to be a persistent problem. Israel launched a counterattack, advancing quickly up the mountains and engaging in fierce battles with Syrian troops. By June 9th, the Israelis had pushed deep into Syrian territory and established control over the strategic heights. The following day, the Syrians attempted a last stand near the town of Massif, but they were defeated and forced to retreat. Within 2 days, Israel had secured the entire Golan Heights, gaining a significant strategic military stronghold. This victory bolstered Israel's position in the region, providing them with a vantage point from which they could monitor and influence events across the surrounding area. On June 10th, a ceasefire was declared. The results were shocking. In just 6 days, Israel had achieved what many considered impossible, defeating 3 Arab armies in less time than it took for the ink to dry on the peace treaty that ended the Middle East war. More remarkably, Israel had captured territory 4 times its original size. The Sinai Peninsula, Gaza, the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and the Golan Heights were added to the State of Israel, dramatically reshaping the political map of the Middle East. For Israel, the war was a resounding triumph. It transformed Israel from a regional power struggling for its survival into the dominant military power in the Middle East. The war also solidified Israel's position as a formidable force on the world stage. This victory led to increased international recognition and support for Israel, cementing its place in global politics. Additionally, the expansion of territory brought about by the war provided Israel with valuable natural resources and strategic depth. These territorial gains allowed Israel to better defend its borders and provided buffer zones against potential future conflicts. Moreover, the war had a profound impact on the demographics of Israel. The influx of Jewish people from Arab countries, known as Mizrahi Jews, significantly altered the ethnic composition of the country. This migration enriched Israeli culture with diverse traditions and perspectives, shaping the country's identity. For Palestinians, however, the 6-day war marked the beginning of a new era of suffering. Thousands were killed and many more wounded during the conflict. Homes and livelihoods were destroyed, and the Palestinian territories were occupied. The war also led to the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, both within their own territories and beyond, creating a refugee crisis that continues to this day. As for the rest of the Arab world, the defeat in the 6-day war was a bitter pill to swallow. It was a humiliation that would come back to haunt Israel just a few years later in the form of the Yom Kippur War in 1973. The legacy of the 6-day war continues to resonate even today. The war not only shaped the political boundaries of the region, but also had lasting social, economic, and psychological impacts. For instance, the Israeli occupation of Palestinian territories, which began with the 6-day war, continues to be a major point of contention in the ongoing Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This occupation has led to decades of violence, instability, and human rights issues, making it one of the most contentious issues in international relations. The war also had profound consequences for the Arab-Israeli relations. The defeat in 1967 created a deep sense of resentment and mistrust among Arab nations towards Israel. This mistrust has had a significant impact on diplomatic relations and peace negotiations between Israel and its Arab neighbors, hindering the progress towards a lasting peace agreement. Despite numerous attempts at peace negotiations, a comprehensive and enduring solution to the conflict remains elusive. The war's impact extended beyond the immediate region. It played a role in shaping the broader geopolitical landscape of the Cold War era. Both the United States and the Soviet Union were involved in the conflict, providing military and diplomatic support to their respective allies. The war demonstrated the growing influence of these superpowers in the Middle East, setting the stage for future conflicts and alliances in the region. Today, the situation in Gaza, the West Bank, and Jerusalem remains a tinderbox. Even after 5 decades, the wound of the 6-day war refuses to heal. The map of the region may have been finalized in 1967, but the dream of a lasting peace still eludes us. The 6-day war ended more than half a century ago, but its consequences still echo today. What happened in 1967 is not just history, it is the root of today's Palestinian struggle. As we reflect on this pivotal moment in history, let us remember the human stories behind the headlines, the lives uprooted, the families torn apart, and the dreams shattered during those 6 fateful days. Let this serve as a reminder of the importance of seeking peace, understanding, and reconciliation. If this story opened your eyes, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. Stay tuned for more historical documentaries, because to understand the past is to shape the future. Thank you for watching.